welcome back to our series of interviews with Euro's brilliant members across the world. It's a great pleasure to talk again to Jenny Hogan at the Relocation Consultancy in the UK. Jenny, it's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you, Dom.
I think we spoke quite early on. I think we spoke at the beginning of April.
Yes.
And obviously things have moved on significantly since then. How are you, first of all?
Good, thank you. Yes, we're moving on, moving forward. Things seem to change sort of weekly with the lockdown being eased. I am delighted this week because I've had my highlights done.
You're looking
and
great.
nails done.
Hey! Normal life.
I'm in quite a good mood.
That's great. Oh, listen, tell me, because I went to have my haircut last week. My lovely hairdresser got me stuff. Tell me what that experience was like.
Well, I actually go to a lady in the village, so I wasn't in a salon, but she was doing it in salon conditions. So we had masks and things. And the one thing I did get, which no one else would get, is I did get a cup of coffee.
Oh, very good. No, I didn't.
There salons aren't allowed to give drinks.
No, I know.
But we were very much sort of, we always had our masks on, and she was sterilising all of her stuff, and so very good. But I went to my nail bar and they had these sort of screens up that you put your hands through.
Oh, really? You've got a little slot and...
Yes, yeah. So that was quite interesting.
So, I mean, where are things now in the UK? And I know, obviously, I'm in the UK, but just talk us through, because there are differences between like England and Scotland and what's happening.
So in England, we are now at the point where we're allowed to socialise. Do you know, Dom, it gets a bit woolly. Because
it really does.
I think we're all slightly confused about who we're allowed to be with and where, and especially with Scotland and Wales having different plans, etc. But basically, our pubs are open, our restaurants are open. You can go out for a meal, but you have to, I think you're all right inside. You can have 2 family groups sharing a house together. So that's helped from a holidays point of view, because you can go away on holiday. You can now stay away from home overnight, which obviously that wasn't until the 4th of July. Things are moving on. Now, at the end of this month, we're going to have to wear masks in all shops, which we haven't had to up to now. And so there's quite a bit of a divide on the wearing of masks everywhere. I've been listening to things on the radio. For me personally, I don't see what the issue is. But some people are sort of taking offence to it, and other people are saying, well, if we need to wear masks, why aren't we starting to wear them now while we're waiting 2 weeks? So I think on the whole, the mood in the UK is good. I think people are being sensible, but I think there is a little bit of confusion over what they can and can't do, and I think it's gone on for much longer than we were really all anticipating when we went into lockdown.
I agree with you. I mean, we were just saying before before we started recording, the kind of the how we didn't anticipate the lockdown to go on for quite so long. And I was talking to somebody last week and just saying, I think one of the hardest days for me was when they announced the first extension of the lockdown, which was ages ago, and it was only after 3 weeks. And you think, now looking back, that's I remember thinking, gosh, this is going to go on for much longer than we thought. You said that to me before.
And funnily enough, I think for me, when we were in lockdown, it was almost easier, because I thought, okay, well, we can't do anything, work, I can do stuff, but I can't take clients out, I can, things like that. Whereas now it's very much more unclear. And I think I was expecting things to pick up quicker.
Right.
Probably than they are. Still, I think we have issues obviously with clients. We have got work coming in. Clearly we're not as busy, anything like as busy as we were this time last year, but we have got clients coming in, but we have issues with them waiting for visas because the immigration centres haven't been open around the world. We have issues with perhaps them not quite being ready to come to the UK yet themselves. So, you know, we've got a lot of pipeline work. It's just taking a lot longer than normal to get the people here and on the ground. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Because like you say, there are so many things outside of people's controls. When you're talking to your clients, do you get, I mean, what sort of conversations are you having about, are people reluctant? Are they excited? Are they, you know, obviously you, in normal circumstances, are gauging somebody's emotional response to their relocation. What's happening now?
I would say the majority of people that I talk to are wanting to come. They just want to get on with it. They're frustrated that they are sitting around waiting for their move. Particularly families, they want to get on and get school places, and you know, so we'll be breaking up for the school holidays now, and normally we're quite busy now getting houses and stuff for people so they can put their school application forms in and things. So I think people are a little bit frustrated that I've spoken to, and my conversations always start when I'm talking about how we'll help them. So pre-COVID, this is what we would have done.
Yeah.
And now this is what we're doing. So but they're all lovely people, but I think they just want to get on and come here.
And what sort of, I mean, given that, like you say, the sort of interpretation of the rules here is quite, like you said, it is quite woolly. We don't really, and it changes a lot. And, you know, how have your processes altered?
Well, we started taking people out. I think we did our first takeout in June. We've done more in July. The first one, it's funny how quickly you do get used to new processes and how you have to work, and it helps that this is a world pandemic, so people don't think we're just being a bit weird in the UK. They all know what they're talking about and what we're doing, and also I think they expect that. It's almost like if you go into a shop and you don't think they're being very sort of sensible with the way that they're with their PPE or sanitizing, you probably wouldn't go into that shop or restaurant. Whereas if you see people, you know, a retailer taking it seriously, you'd be more likely to go in because you feel safer. And I think that's the thing with our corporate clients. If anything, there's even more of a need for relocation support now because of the health and safety and the risk factor for their assignees. So it's really important. I think with the clients that we have, also, a lot of it depends where they're coming from. We haven't had many people from America, obviously, because they can't come in and they have to go into quarantine, and their immigration centres are only just opening up. So we have had a few sort of European moves, and generally speaking, they're a bit further down the path than us, so they're a bit more relaxed, probably. We did have one lady that we moved from Germany, and she landed in the UK before they reduced the quarantining restrictions. So we said to her, look, we can't take you out because you're supposed to be in 14 days quarantine. But if you know, we kept thinking, the government kept talking about releasing the restrictions and then it would go on another day and then. So anyway, in the meantime, we were sending her virtual, you know, videos, and we were doing the research. The next thing, she'd put an offer in on our place. She'd been to view it on her own.
See, that's the thing, isn't it?
So, you know, it was like, well, what can you do?
What can you do? But you're so right. There are two big points there, because on the one hand, like you say, there's never been a greater need for the kind of advice and, you know, and services that you're giving. But on the other hand, people are just keen to get on with it. And I know that when the estate agents and letting agents opened up, and it was literally overnight, wasn't it? It was Tuesday, it was closed. Wednesday morning, you can operate. I remember having conversations with several members here in the UK who were saying, now we don't know what to do because we've got all our assignees saying, oh, we can go and look at properties.
Yeah.
But we need to put processes in place to make sure that, that they're okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think what we did was we wrote some guidelines very early on when I was speaking to you. I was very much looking forward and how we were going to work in the future. And then, of course, the Euro guidelines came out, which were really helpful as well. So we get clients and the consultant to sign a disclaimer before they go out, saying that they're healthy and they're not showing any signs, saying that they'll wear a mask, saying that they'll sit in the back of the car, which isn't always what they try to do when you actually take them out. But we got these antivirus sprays for our consultants' cars, so they can spray them, close the door, and then everything's supposed to be sort of died. But the main way the work has changed, I suppose, is that we're doing far less viewings. Right. So we're doing a lot of research and narrowing down properties, and it's actually more time consuming the way we work now than it was, because you've got a narrative. WhatsApp has never been so busy, I can tell you, because you've got a narrative, you've got videos going backwards and forwards. We've had consultants go out looking at properties on behalf of people or sending videos. But more recently, we have been taking people out, but rather than a full day, they're probably doing, 5 hours. And the other thing is getting viewings with the agent. So where we used to start the research a day or two before, so that you've got the most up-to-date properties, you're having to start getting in touch with agents much earlier to be able to book in viewings, because sometimes they'll only do viewings on a property once a day, and tenants, if it's a tenanted property, a lot of tenants are saying we only want 2 people a week or things like that. So the properties are showing us on the market, and online, and the agents are giving us the details of them, but you can't always get in to see them when you want to get in to see them.
Yeah, that's very frustrating, isn't it? And again, it just highlights how, even though this is something that's happening across the world and all governments are responding in, fairly cohesive ways, individuals have to respond the way that they want to respond.
Yes, yeah.
Which is very tricky.
Mm.
We were talking before the call, how, on that basis, how do you think people are seeing where the UK is right now? Are they feeling fairly optimistic, as you said? And you mentioned before we started recording the media, we were talking about media, and how the big story now is the second wave.
Yes. I think, I don't think the media have been particularly useful during this. I do think there's been quite a lot of scaremongering, to the point that, we were talking earlier, there's people that are scared to go out still and don't want to go out, and then there's probably the younger generation that are thinking it's over. And then you have the majority of people in between who are just being sensible. But I think, we were talking earlier, if there is going to be a second wave in the winter, we need to make the most of where we are now. Where we are at the moment, we need to get the economy going. We need to, start people moving for their jobs, etc. So really, these sort of 4 or 5 months should be a good window to really be doing a lot more work, if that's what the worry is towards the end of the year. The other thing I mentioned earlier was we've got Brexit, obviously, from the 31st of December. So we have had probably more European work, because obviously they don't need the visas and everything, and also they're keen to get in before the end of the year. So
yes, that's another little thing that we've got to get into, isn't it? It is very interesting. It's like, when you when we look at, as you say, reopening the economy and you're talking about, you know, your person coming in from Germany. I mean, the differences in how other European nations have fared or have dealt with this,
Yeah.
or have responded to this.
Yes.
In large part, obviously, it's a numbers thing. Numbers are much lower in Germany. But when I've been talking to members, the impact of the media is really significant.
Yeah.
And those countries where, like, for example, Denmark, where the media were very much like, let's get this risk into proportion.
Yes.
You know, let's look at the managing of this risk in its actual, you know, dangers. The people are confident. Our president, Michelle Bramstoft, who's from Copenhagen, is currently in Corsica. You know, she flew to her summer holiday. I mean, in the UK, those are very different conversations.
Yeah, I don't know of many people that would get on an aeroplane at the moment.
Yeah.
And some of that is not just the flying, it's when you get there, the holiday experience that you expect isn't going to be the same holiday experience if you've got to wear masks and social distance and things like that. But I think I think it's quite difficult, and I think that we need to get a bit of perspective now on where we are in the UK. The death rate is really, really very low, considering the size of our population. And I mean, there was talk, I haven't seen it yet, but I think Boris Johnson was going to announce today that everyone should be going back to work in their offices now, not working from home, which is, you know, another thing. Obviously, we do a lot of work in London. Most of the work that we have been doing since we were coming out of lockdown has not been in London.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. And London is dead, the city, you know, no one's going into work in the offices in the city at the moment. So we do have some cases in the pipeline. Again, they could come over if they wanted to, but their offices in London aren't open.
Right. Okay.
So
that's
there's no point. They may as well just stay where they are.
Where they are. Yeah. That's very interesting, because I was talking with Selina Wakeling, who's head of global at Cheval, you know, the service department company, and she was saying they've been open throughout. And one of the things that they've put in place, especially for people whose offices are closed, is the enhanced broadband so that they can work from the temporary housing.
Yes.
So there are solutions there to be put in place. But like you say, if you're going to be working remotely, you might as well be in your own home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, up until now, the government was saying work from home. So hopefully now with today's announcement, then that will sort of kickstart offices and things opening up a bit, and, you know, getting back to another new bit of normal.
Yeah. That will change things, especially for you, for you know, our members in the UK. That will change things a lot if people are able to go back.
But sort of from that point of view, the London rental market, I think, has suffered quite a lot with reductions in prices, and because there's so much property available. And one significant thing that has happened, not just in London but everywhere, is that a lot of Airbnb properties where they'd normally be shorter term lets, those landlords are thinking, okay, I need to get some money in, I'm going to put it on the long-term rental market. So actually there's quite a few sort of 2-bedroom type places come on the market, which sort of helps push the prices down. But then to counteract that, you know, people are wanting to perhaps move out of the city to places where they can get more for their money, they can have a bit of outdoor space. So good properties in good locations aren't necessarily that negotiable on price.
That is a really interesting shift, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd say it's quite a fragile market at the moment.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, it's interesting. We had a note through the door from a local estate agent saying your property is in demand. You know, we live in the least demandful place of the UK up here. It's always been a very quiet housing market. There's a lot of properties, and suddenly things are moving incredibly fast because people are thinking, I'm remote working. Why am I living in a very expensive house near a very expensive city?
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So going forward, you've got, you were saying earlier, one of your people has come back in off furlough.
Yeah, so we're a small DSP, so we only had one person on furlough, and she's now come back in part-time because we have got enough work now coming in. A lot of our work, okay, there's more home searches coming in now, but certainly last month there was a lot of departure services. Now, these aren't normal departure services. These are services where the people had left before lockdown and now are not coming back. So they've left their apartment thinking they would be coming back. So it's not only arranging cleaning and stuff, but to arrange for all of their stuff to be packed up. Yeah. So, you know, a lot of DHL and where, you know, it's personal belongings. If there's a removals company involved, then that's fine. Yeah. But things like, you know, the fridges have got all
decayed food in them. That's so interesting.
Where people have just sort of
gone.
Left.
They've just gone.
Yeah. So we've been doing quite a lot of that, sort of going in and sort of getting properties ready to hand back, then finding the keys. Where are the keys?
They've gone home.
They're in America.
They're right. Yeah. They're sitting in someone's bag. Yeah.
So it's been quite interesting.
Yeah, that's I've heard that from a couple of people have said the same thing, that actually that's been quite a big deal. And of course then you've got all the ramifications of leases being shut down and things being closed before time, and you're negotiating that. But again, it just highlights how important professional relocation
support is. We are their representative in the UK.
Yeah.
So we're sorting it all out.
You are the fixer. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's really good to talk to you. I would love to catch up again in a couple of months' time. See where we are when we start to go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. We were saying earlier, weren't we, that, you know, we thought, oh, by July it'll be over.
Yeah.
And now we're thinking, oh, by September. It'll be interesting to know if that's true.
It really will. It'll be good to get back together sort of, you know, end of September. That would be great. We'll have another conversation because, as I say, you know, we'll know more then about, you know, it's very interesting. I've had so many conversations like you with so many people, and I was talking to a friend who's very friendly with a senior epidemiologist in the US, who's basically saying, look, by January, February, we'll be in one of two places. It'll be vaccine, or it'll be herd immunity, or it will be lockdowns that are very localized. Which is what they're saying here, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I sort of think, you know, when this all started off at the beginning of the year, I had no concept that it would still be going on for the whole of 2020. You know, I just sort of thought, oh, it'll be a few months. Now I really think that 2020, really, we have to sort of count, if we can keep going. And, you know, I think coming back at 2021 will be when everything really comes back online. But I like to be optimistic, Dom.
Same.
So, you know,
same.
Hopefully it'll be before that.
I agree. I mean, you know, a lot of the stuff, when you do dig through the terrible news and you find that one article that's actually, you know, they reluctantly have to say something that's good news. You know, the vaccine trials are very,
absolutely. Yeah, there was talk about some maybe starting to be released in September, October time.
Exactly. So that's, you know, like I say, let's be optimistic. I've got my wooden ruler, touch wood. Listen, Jenny, it's been a great pleasure. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you.
Enjoy the summer. Apparently sunshine is coming back to us. And we'll catch up again in September. It's been
lovely
a pleasure.
To see you,
and to you.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.